All right, welcome everyone. For those of you watching live and for those of you watching recording, welcome to Nick's Knowledge and Notions in-Cube Science Series, brought to you by the Seven Spheres of Money and Duransburg International. As you're tuning in, make sure you like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. So Nick's Knowledge and Notions is the science of all things that are born or go through my mind and are manifested in the physical. And I have the young OG, DJ the Money Coach, bringing his young OG perspective along with the financial perspective. Let me get this off the screen. What's going on, DJ? How you feeling? How's your week going? We're going into the weekend.
Man, Nick, as always, I am excited, and we're busier than a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest. But most importantly, we're productive. I mean, it has been a very productive week, and to cap off the business week, man, we knocked it out of the park today. We helped a lot of people out, and man, I feel great. How about you, my brother?
Oh, I feel great as well. You always tell me to get excited. Oh yeah, there you go. What does that say on that cup? The man, the myth, and the legend. Yes, sir. Yes, I'm just as excited. You always tell me to get excited. And I guess I'm increasing my level of excitement with each week. As each week comes, I'm becoming more and more excited about the work that we're doing and the people that we're helping. Absolutely.
There we go. There we go.
Yep. So to open up the show, I'm gonna read a passage from the same book that we talked about last week. Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun by Reginald F. Lewis and Blair S. Walker. And I'm going to use this passage to segue or to introduce the topic for this evening.
The Black Man's Bible for Ultimate Success. That's what they should rename it. The Black
Yes,
Man's
sir.
Bible for Ultimate Success. Yes,
there
sir.
There you go. There you go. All right. So this is coming from chapter 6, the beginning of chapter 6, Masterful Man. All right. Having resolutely set a goal for himself, he, meaning Reginald Lewis, was convinced that he would travel faster without the baggage of long-term emotional commitments. He was determined to avoid marriage until he was 35, an age when he was sure he would be independently wealthy and established. He once said, "I didn't want the responsibility of a wife before I had a real stake in life." But life takes some interesting turns at times, and all of Lewis's plans were about to go out the window as far as romance was concerned. And then, he opens up a story that happened around his 26th birthday, which was about 9 years prior to the time where he planned to get married. This was around the time where he started courting his wife around the age 26, and after 6 months of courtship, they got married. So that passage will introduce this topic, which I call the residual costs of single life versus dating life versus married life. So I'll talk about my experiences with that. Speaking to individuals from the different generations and how their perspectives on marriage differ. And I'll be talking about some of the pros and cons of each, the pros and cons of living, the single life and not dating at all, living the single life and casually dating, being in a long-term committed relationship and, and being married. And then I'll have DJ, come in and give his perspective, being a financial coach, sitting down with thousands of people, single, married, all the above, and his mind, also his mind state in general from, just from being a young OG and having, more life experiences, so let's get into it. So a popular question that I get from my peers is, do your parents put pressure on you about getting married? And my answer is no. My answer is no. My father, he's always been a strong believer of, making sure I'm stable. I'm financially stable. Um, into a good career, having my debt paid off, before I get married. So essentially, taking my time when it comes to that, because, marriage is one of the most important decisions or moves you're going to make in life, and it can be a very expensive one when you're talking about it from a financial perspective. So a lot of my peers, they're surprised when I tell them that no, my parents, my grandparents, they don't put that type of pressure on me. But they, on the other hand, their parents or their relatives, tend to ask them pretty frequently about, where's their, boyfriend or girlfriend, where's the spouse, when are they getting married, when are they having kids? And I'm a high school teacher also, so my students, they're very precocious and curious, so they ask about the same thing as well. Am I married? Do I have a girlfriend? And yeah, they expect me to have one also, which is interesting. And from their perspective too, they when they grow up, they expect to have children at young ages too, which is pretty shocking, pretty alarming to me. When I say young age, I mean early 20s, and most of them don't mention marriage per se, but they mention having children, which which is an interesting perspective. I talk to peers, men and women my age, and it's a bit of a mixture. Most of the young women my age, look to get married and have children, maybe around their mid 20s to late 20s to early 30s. But when I talk to my elders, my parents, and even people older, such as my grandparents or just other older folks who are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, and when I tell them that I don't have a girlfriend, I don't have a wife yet, they're like, "That's fine, take your time," which is which is really interesting. So I have the elders who are telling me that there's no rush, take your time, but I have people my age who seem to be in a rush to or have a sense of urgency when it comes to marriage and starting a family. So I can see everyone's perspective, as far as yeah, you could find someone to build with, to help you out. But I tend to lean more towards building myself independently, like Reginald Lewis, originally mentioned before he met his wife. So that's where I'm at so far with it. Before I jump into the pros and cons, I said a lot in the opening, so I'll let DJ jump in here and give his ideas before I jump into the next segment of this conversation.
Well, you know what, Nick? You've said a lot. And if we break it down, century by century, by age, I don't mean your age, but the actual age of time, like the industrial period, the agrarian period, the informational period. If we go back, to the 1800s, life expectancy probably was only about 50 years of age. So you grew up in an agrarian, agricultural, age where everybody manned the field. So, unfortunately, women were considered a detriment, which they created what's called a dowry. That when you didn't have sons that could physically man and toll the fields to, yield a harvest, a woman was a detriment because she couldn't do any physical labor. All she could do is, prepare a meal. So men sought to get their daughters married off as fast as possible. So because they couldn't provide anything physically at that time. And that's the reason why they had to pay for it, which begat the dowry. Okay. So, and the fact that we were not living, past our 50, years of life, historically. So that was a different age. So that was traditionally based on survival. You had to get married early and start a family and start, fielding those fields, because most people had farms, in America, they had farms. Okay. So as you move forward to the next age, which became the industrial age, which was brought in by Henry Ford when he created the assembly line. And what most people don't know, Henry Ford didn't create the first car. He actually made it manufactured and made it ability to create multiple cars. The actual first car was created by BMW or Mercedes. I think it was Mercedes. I think it was, and BMW came next. And there was another company called Duesenberg that created cars one at a time. And when Henry Ford created the industrial age, he created the factories and took people off the agrarian lifestyle, which was, working on the farm, and made them into factories and guaranteed them income, which took off the burden of you managing the harvest when there were bad harvests. And if you didn't have enough physical bodies to do the, laborious and arduous labor, you settled by giving up your land to go into the industrial world to get a guaranteed paycheck. So at that point, again, it was custom and traditionally to be married at a young age. Typically, by the time a girl got to be 14, 15, 16 years of age, she was expected to be married because she was a liability. These are facts. If you don't believe them, go study history. They say the easiest thing you can do to fool somebody, put the information in a book. They will never read it. Okay? So as we move forward out of the industrial age, and people started to create a lifestyle of convenience and less labor and an easier way of living, people got used to that. So they would go off into industrial age, started to create, some security or semblance of security financially. So again, if I can get through this process, and again, the life expectancy probably was about 60, about 62. So when you had the advent of Social Security, which wasn't created, I think, until like the late 20s or the early 30s, when Social Security came about. And Social Security was based off a mathematical, actuary, scientific formula that said that most people are going to die at 62 years of age. So when you quote unquote retire, you died like 2, maybe 3 years later. So they weren't expecting everybody to benefit from Social Security. Okay. So if you look at that, 62, you're pretty much hitting the bucket, and you got your 20s and your 30s. So you're going to get married early, start having kids, because your job is to procreate, to expand your legacy, and to keep your lineage alive. So if you were to waiting later, most likely that wasn't going to happen. There was going to be no extra, Duransburgs or Westbrooks if we waited into our mid to late 30s in that time and frame, because typically you'll be dead 57, 62 years of age. Okay. So as you bring that forward in the advancement of technology and health, biology, chemistry, and things like that, and lifestyles became easier, we now could go longer without having to have children, because it wasn't all about toiling the land. We can have an industrial lifestyle that we all will be on this assembly line process, where all you start seeing is systems and automation across America. And then the advent of college was created for the elite, not for the middle class person. It was the elite people that actually went to college just to get married so they can continue their blue blood, aristocracy. Okay. So as you moved into the early 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, right after World War II, when a whole bunch of people started coming back, getting these GI Bills and stuff like that, now the life expectancy started to increase. And then Social Security became to figure out what most economists will tell you, it was a trap, because the biggest, greatest population, which is the baby boomers, or they call the great, I forgot what they call it. They call it the great something. It's the greatest people fought wars and stuff like that. They started seeing it used to be Social Security was built like for every one person paid in Social Security, Nick, there would have to be 25 to 30 people to support that one. But then as we got further down the road, the numbers dwindled from 35 to pay for that one Social Security to 25 to pay for that one Social Security to 15 to pay for one security. And now where we are now, it's almost like 1 in 3. So the numbers don't add up. But outside of that, the tradition of the traditional family, mom, dad, grandparents, typically all lived in the same house. That was across the board for everybody. Poor people, middle class, wealthy people. You would have typically 3 generations in one house. There was nothing unusual about that. That was the norm. Okay. So that person was in an apprenticeship program, the daughter. So from the day she came out the womb, she was taught domestic skills. Cook, clean, nurture, provide for the other children. So about time she got to be 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years of age, she knew everything how to do to handle a household. And conversely, the boy, as soon as he got old enough to talk and walk, he was working in the fields. And to go to 8th grade, that was a big deal. You either went to 8th grade or you worked the fields the rest of your life back in the early days. So typically American middle class, most people didn't have beyond an 8th grade education back in the 20s, in the 30s. You know, going to high school was like going to college when a high school degree meant something. When like in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, well, a college degree meant something, which it don't mean anything now unless you have, you know, a master's degree in terms of formal education like a doctor, an engineer, and a lawyer. Because everything we can get now is what? Access via the internet, Google, Yahoo, etc. You can get that information, right? So as we move through time and we kept those traditional values of a man and a woman, traditional marriage, and taking care of each other financially, it was expected to get out and take care of these things immediately. It wasn't about creating lifestyle and having a good time. It was about lineage and legacy. Okay. So now let's fast forward. When the information age came in, round about, I would say the mid to late 70s, early 80s, when the first, you know, PC was created, you know, Bill Gates, Wozniak, who actually created the PC. That information sped up the process of life in terms of us getting downloaded with information faster than us getting it in the encyclopedia, the Britannica, and stuff like that. The world got smaller. So guess what? People were able to study more information quicker than it took them to just go travel and get life experiences. They can get it on the computer. Okay. So your knowledge and your skills expanded. So thus your income capacity became quicker to have a better way of life. And then the baby boomers started saying, hey, forget about the generation before us. We want to enjoy our money. Forget about passing on. We want to enjoy, get these big houses, get these big cars. And then that's when financing came about. Most people don't really realize this. You couldn't finance a car in the 70s. You had to save up and pay cash. Imagine that concept. You got a car. I remember my grandmother bought a brand new car, 1980 Toyota Corolla. It was $4,200. My grandmother saved for like 10 years to pay cash for that car. And
Wow.
even in 1980, 82, financing a car was a novel concept. Even financing a house was a novel concept 60 years ago.
Wow.
Think about that. So if you go back 60 years, that's like 1960. When you bought a house for $10,000, $12,000, you paid cash for it, or you came out of the military and you got what was called a GI loan. So when you go into other countries and people are talking about their own stuff and they say, man, how could you have all this stuff? Oh, we finance it. That tripped people up. So now when you come to this statement, and let's just talk about, you said 3 things: courtship, dating, and marriage. So dating, is a foreign concept because all it is prostitution of a woman or prostitution of a man. Courtship is built for marriage. You go through the process. Each family chooses the person indirectly who they want you to be with in terms of lineage, affluence, capability to be better. And you weren't playing around with the person. You weren't, sampling the goods. And that's why you see in other cultures, like the East Indian cultures and stuff, they still have, planned marriages. And they statistically last longer because they're not getting married because they like each other, they're attracted. They're getting married because they show characteristics and principles of success from both families to create better wealth and stability for each one's lineage. So once we got into the television society, which began about 1949, I think around that time when the first television was created, might have been a couple of years before, a couple of years after.
Sounds about right.
We start getting these promotions and these images of false reality. So everybody wanted to aspire to have the stuff they saw on the boob tube, which they used to call it. Okay. So when you come back and look at what Reginald F. Lewis did, said, I didn't want to get involved in a marriage because he understood that marriage was a business contract. And it was a responsibility to take on these, debts of stability, not just to, lay down and have sex with somebody. So Dr. Francis Cress Welsing says that nobody should get married, man or woman, until they hit 30. Men at 33, women around about 28, 30, because they would have matured mentally. They should have taken care of debt. And then they understand the real institution of marriage. And a man should most likely, like the Muslims say, marry a woman is 7 years younger because we're slower on the maturation process. So theoretically, you're more likely statistically to stay married longer if you get married in your 30s because you have taken care of your financial burden. You have matured and, sold your wild oats, men and women collectively. And now you're serious about your lineage and your legacy. So you put all that frivolous stuff aside. And statistically, again, less people get divorced if they get married for the first time and they plan it as a business and understand what marriage is really about. That's how it'll yield success. So that's not uncommon. It's uncommon in the informational world we live in the digital world. Everybody wanted quick, fast, and a hurry, and they running through people and causing problems. But if you plan it out, my mom told me, before you get involved with somebody, make sure you're happy and you can make your own happiness, financially, mentally, and everything else, because you can't, at the end of the day, make anybody happy. They can only make themselves happy. And a marriage is a union of two independent, stable entities to create an interdependent relationship to actually get better, not worse. But in most cases, we get into a marriage thinking that we're going to get better together when it's actually the opposite because we haven't achieved our personal goals. And 9 out of 10 times in our community, we have so much debt, so much bad indoctrination, and our pathology is so ripped up unless you come from the upper crust, elite, 2-3 generations, college, graduates, business owners. You usually don't mature, man, till you hit like 40 for a man. You usually don't mature for a woman till you like 28, 30 years of age if you don't have any regular, urban baggage that comes along with that lifestyle or that lack of understanding. So that's the premise of why now today, in these historical facts and scientific facts, if you go check, again, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, you go check how Reginald F. Lewis did it, and you look at how a lot of families did it that were successful. And what people don't realize is that most people that come into marriages from middle-class neighborhoods and families, their family, again, part of that dowry scenario, they pay for the down payment on their house. They pay off their student loan.
Wow.
They help them get access to business opportunities that lessens the burden. 98% of the stuff that we're going to do on this planet is affected by money. 98%. So if you're constantly worried about paying the rent, paying the student loan, how can you focus on the quality of your relationship with your spouse? Because most of your arguments are going to be about money. But if you come into the scenario with no debt, you know what you want outside of physical attractiveness. And you know what you're trying to accomplish collectively together by sitting down and checking off these, boop, 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 check. And then you're able to look at the parents of the person, the way they came from. 9 out of 10 times, they're going to do exactly what their parents did. And there's a saying, you know, just from the physical aspect, they used to say back in the day, look at the girl's ankles. You know, if the ankles get swollen up, look at her mama when she's 50, 60 years of age. If she's tired out, you know, thin as a piece of spaghetti, but if her mama is, you know, 250 pounds, most likely she's going to be 250 pounds. And conversely with a guy, if the guy starts out skinny, his dad got a belly, pot gut, the whole 9, bald, he may look good now. But when he starts striving in 40, 45, some of them, you know, 30, he's going to be bald, fat, and lazy. You know, he ain't going to have a full head of hair without no gray, baby.
Like you.
You know what I'm saying? So you got to do all the research, man. It's a business investment, and it's really a contract. So those contracts are meant to be broken if you have false expectations from dating, because dating is all physical. There's nothing mentally based, nothing stability based when it comes to dating. Dating is, hey man, you look good, you talk a good game, you make me feel good. Courtship is, hey, we want to think up here about how we'll be good parents, how we'll be good, you know, pillars in society and be, you know, valuable in our community. Thus, you court somebody literally for 6 months to a year, sometimes 24 months, because you don't know somebody till you see the ugly side of them. You don't get that in dating. You don't get that on Tinder. You don't get that on these apps, because I'm showing you the best of me, and 9 out of 10 times it's been photoshopped. And then when you meet that person, you're all upset. But guess what? You really want to marry somebody you met on Tinder? You want to marry somebody you met on Match.com? The old way was meet them in the church, meet them in one of the community groups. Somebody already been knowing this person, know what their good side is, what their bad side, know what they compliment you, and then they make a recommendation or referral to you. So you are fortunate because your parents and your parents' parents know the right model for successful relationships, long-term marriages. 9 out of 10 times, if you're growing up in an urban environment, you ain't getting that model. And I would say 5 out of 10 times in the professional, you know, neighborhoods and professional elite families, you're not getting that model too, because it's too much tilted on money, where you don't even know if you're compatible, but your money is. That's that trophy wife, that trophy husband. And you will see guys have 5, 6 wives. And you will see women 4 or 5 husbands. Because you know what they're chasing is the dollar bill. And then when they lose their ability with the money and their looks go, guess what also goes to? That companion, that date had nothing to do with courtship. So nowadays, you should wait as a man till you 33, 35 years of age, get all your ducks in a row, get all your hoeing, chasing, you know, skirts, all your wild oats out of your system. And as a lady, you should wait till you're 28 to 30. And see, biologically, it used to be too that you couldn't have, you know, the likelihood of being a successful, you know, what they call gestation and have a successful pregnancy without, you know, challenges the older you got. But I think as the advance in technology and medicine, and we're learning how to eat better and healthier, women can have babies safely up to 40 years of age, easily, with all things equal, you know, stress, money, etc. So now, and the life expectancy has now been extended where people are living past their 80s, 90s, and 100. Check this out, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
Statistically, if you get to 65 and you have decent health and you have good income, you're more statistically as a woman to live into your 90s. 1 out of 3 men, 1 out of 5 to live into their 90s. So you can have a renaissance like I'm experiencing in my 50s, early 50s. It's like the new 30s, baby, because I'm consumer debt free. Yep. I'm financially independent, and I still am in great shape. But I have what I didn't have at 30, 35. I have a ton of experience and a ton of expertise, and I know exactly what I want, and those are non-negotiables. You see what I'm saying?
I see.
So kudos to you that what I would do, and again, it says in BK1, the Bible, you should never counsel yourself. A man who counsels himself is a fool. So I got counsel from people who had successful relationships. I didn't jump the broom until I was 33. I had been engaged a couple of times prior. Mm-hmm. But when I looked at people who had successful, marriages, because my mom had 3 unsuccessful marriages, so it took 4 for her to be married now for 30 years. I said, marriage is not an institution I'm interested in. And matter of factly, I'm, no longer, married after, 20 years because we just grew apart. But you know what? We're still great friends, and we still handle our business, which is still not even normal in that situation when people legal, agreements have been, separated. But because we did things right, we were able to, jump 10, 19 years. And then when the business relationship and other things didn't work out, we still function, normally in society. So it enabled me to now, be, touched down with another person that's, more compatible to what I need now, and the same thing for her. So that's about being grown-ups. You know what I'm saying? So these things with the television, the internet, and let's get busy quick all the time, dude, all it is people, selling themselves short, and they devaluing their tempo. And at the end of the day, who wants a, used up vessel? I mean, what is it called? Vessel. I'm sorry, vessel. Yeah. Nobody wants a used up vessel. Nobody. A woman don't want a used up vessel. A man don't want to use up vessel. So why would you want somebody who's already by the time they're 25 years of age, then, slept with a bajillion people from the woman's side to the man's side? You might want somebody with a little bit of experience in the bedroom, but you don't want much more than that, because after that's gone, bro, what you got? So that's kind of a long answer to your question, but that's keeping it 100.
Yeah. Hey, that's perfectly fine, because I think the people needed that historical context and backdrop, to put everything into perspective. And there were a few things that you mentioned. Before I get into those, looks like the live stream dropped off, but fortunately we're recording, so we can just throw the recording up. So we're just gonna keep on rolling. So what you mentioned about marrying up to the status and the money, that's a term that they call hypergamy now. That's the fancy word that I've been hearing going around the internet, when it comes to dating, marriage, courtship, and things of that nature. Something interesting about the time that we're living in now is that the concept of age is very skewed in terms of young, these quote unquote young and quote unquote old,
Right.
especially amongst men and women my age. They have this mentality that once you hit 25 and up, you're starting to get quote unquote old. So they look at 30. They look at someone in their 30s as someone that's old. I'm putting that in quotes. When actually, you got folk, like you said, people are living longer. People are living to be 70, 80, 90 years old, but you got folks talking about they're old when they're 30, when they're in their 30s. So that concept of that skewed concept of age and what's considered to be still young kind of puts a false sense of urgency on folks to get married. So people, folks are jumping into marriage because they feel like they're getting old. They feel like they're running out of time, instead of them taking the time to fully develop themselves and get to know someone. And then 35 seems to be a significant or golden age, because I've heard a few people mention the age of 35. I heard one YouTuber, I believe it was Anthony Spade, that said that men hit their prime when they turn 35, because that's when not only that's when they reach their full maturation, but that's when they reach their highest value in terms of career status, finances, and things of that nature.
Well, think about this. Let me interject here. So
yeah, go ahead. Yep.
You can't even run for president until you're at least 35 years of age.
Yep.
Exactly. And as far as hitting your potential financially, dude, 90% of millionaires are 55 years and older. So every time you turn on the idiot box, get on social media, get on the internet, and you seeing these young people making millions of dollars legitimately, dude, that is an aberration. You hear me? I'm gonna say that again. 90% of millionaires are 55 and older. I'm talking about people who make 7 figures, got 7-figure net worths, are 55 years of age and older. And you know what? You don't believe me? Go look at the research. Go look at the tax returns. Go to irs.gov in those 330 million tax returns, or 300 that were reported. The person that's making $1 million, their average age is 55, man. My good buddy Brandon, who you've met, who's 31, who manages a $1.2 billion portfolio at his company that he owns. His average client age is like 55, 56, 60 years of age. You're just hitting stride at 35 mentally. But financially, again, when you see somebody making $100, $200, $300, $400,000 a year at 35, that's not the norm, bruh. That's the small percentage of society. That's 10, 20%, if that. So when you're looking at entertainers and athletes, yeah, physically, you're not going to be able to perform at the highest level typically, past 35 years of age. Football, running backs are done at 28 because they got too many miles because they've been playing Pop Warner since 6. Basketball players, they get too many miles at like 35, 36 because they got too many games on them knees.
Right.
Baseball is a less extraneous sport, so you can play typically into your late 30s, sometimes 40. So you see somebody like Brady playing at 43, dude, that is an aberration. So if you're constantly looking at all your information on the internet and not knowing the facts and getting behind the scene and knowing the real deal, you will be fooled by this advertisement. That's why they call it television. It's programming to make you aspire to have what most people don't and get it fast and get it quick, because we are in a consumable society. Because if them big companies can't sell you something to consume, how do they stay in business? Why do you think the insurance companies gave everybody across the board 15, 20% off their premiums? Not because they wanted to, but they couldn't justify, hey man, I'm not driving my car. I can't go outside, but you still expect me to pay full premium when my risk has gone down 50%. Because financially, the other insurance company is going to say, hey, man, this is my window to get these deals. I can show them a low premium because they can't go out and drive their car. Consumption. You see what I'm saying? So when they shut down all the restaurants that were, auxiliary spending and discretionary spending for most middle-class people, oh, man, I can't consume my meal every day that I normally want to pay for. So but that person takes it slow, taking time, take care of the temple, mentally infuse knowledge like the multiple books behind you. They're going to be young for a long period of time. So the opposite is happening in your age group. In fact, you burned out by 20. You know why? Because you've been hoeing yourself out. And I don't mean physically, sexually, but you've been hoeing yourself out mentally. Because you've already seen at 21, 2 million commercials. If you're the average person that turns on the television, the average person in America watches 50 hours a week of television.
Yep.
And including that too. On the internet with their smartphone, they're constantly consuming garbage. Mm-hmm. And then they're showing, oh, this is cool. So next thing you know, you got little girls and little boys, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old in grown-up clothing with their bellies out, their ass out. They show that, dude, give me a break. So you didn't burn that person up and they're used at 18. That's why your people that you're teaching, oh man, you're old at 25. If I didn't subscribe to that being on television, on the internet, consuming garbage, and I shut that stuff off, matter of fact, don't even have it in my house, my brain is still fresh. My temple is still pure. Check this out. Do you know that the creators of Apple, Samsung, all these digital gadgets and stuff, the creators, 9 out of 10 times, they don't even let their children use the technology they create because it is predictively and purposely to be addictive.
Yep, it's the way it's
check this out. I have 2 televisions in my house. 2 televisions. But guess what? That used to be a luxury 20 years ago.
Right.
But now you got television in your freaking bathroom. Go in the restaurant. What do you see in the stall? Television. Because they're constantly programming you to do what? To consume garbage to sell you. So you're going through life fast. You know what that movie, what was it? Buttons? Mr. Buttons with
Benjamin Buttons.
Benjamin Buttons.
Yeah. Started
out old and died young, right?
Yep.
That's the world we live in.
It's crazy. Yeah. And when you talk about developing yourself, eating right and keeping your mind sharp, all of that, and reaching your fullest potential as a holistic person, financially, physically, mentally, spiritually, that's increasing your value, and that's something people tend to forget about also. So as you're increasing your own value, that increases the quality of your options. That's another thing that I forgot to mention too. So think about someone who maybe jumps into marriage young, a man, per se, and he hits his stride, at 35, and he increases his personal value, and he outgrows that woman. Do you think he's going to want to stay in that marriage?
Not in today's society.
Yeah,
not when it's okay.
Based on today's standards,
you can get married tomorrow, get divorced the next day, and nobody shame you. That used to be a shame.
Oh yeah,
it used to be a shame, man. Now, hey, man, we get it annulled. Matter of fact, no matter. We just it's just like wiping your butt, man. It's another roll of toilet paper.
Right. Yeah.
And there's no value on the sanctity and the institution of marriage the way it was truly designed. And that's sad to say, but you're right. And that goes conversely for women too. You may have thought that I got to get married young, got to get these kids out the way. And then you got with a guy that was just, he fit that mold of stability, but he wasn't adventurous like you are. He didn't read like you read. He didn't like doing the things that you did. And now you outgrew him because you didn't do all the research because you were dating him. And you didn't go through the courtship, check out the family and everything. And now you're like, I'm stuck.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, these are facts. Here's the thing, the way, and see, this is the way you can tell that, there's a God and God only intended, and, people gonna not like this, but God intended us to be together to procreate. That's it. So he sped up the process for women. So a woman, man, once she hits 35, 40 years of age, it's harder for her to reproduce. But if I'm a guy and I'm taking care of myself, dude, I can father children into my 70s.
Yep.
And guess what? Even in some way, miraculously, like they had this lady who had a baby at like 55 or something. She ain't physically able to take care of that baby for the next 20 years. The body breaks down. No matter how well you take care of it, the body breaks down.
It does. It does.
And then that child is really not going to be able to relate to you because you're 100 years older than the child, literally. Yeah. So you can work out all you want to and try to stay in shape, but then just the technology and connecting with them. Oh, man, I got to find out about TikTok. I got to find out about whatever, Snapchat, all this, crazy stuff that don't add value, but it add value because people add value to it for consumptionism. It doesn't have internal value to the quality of your life as a person. It's just information being exchanged that, you go do some stupid, ain't nothing wrong with having fun doing stupid stuff, but all of a sudden I got 1 million views, watching cats run across piano keys. I got 1 million views, people smacking each other upside the head. So now some person say, oh man, I'll put an advertisement on 1 million views. And I know statistically from actuary science, a percentage of these clowns will buy my product. So now that person is valuable. They're famous.
Yeah, internet famous, that is. Internet value, that is. Yeah. That's a different type of value.
and there'll be nobody 10 years from now. And again, very rarely, the ones that have stand power is an aberration. It is not the norm. So I would automatically come back. And here's the thing, even with people, married couples who always surprise me when they have single friends. They're, oh man, you ought to get married. Why? Why you want to put pressure on somebody who's happy with where they are? And maybe you're unhappy. But if you're legitimately happy, maybe you should share with them what the value of what the real thing about that institution is about. So nobody wants their single friend to be still doing the things they can do. Hey man, it's 12 p.m. I can just get up and go. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I get up. I ain't got to check in with nobody. That's what they miss. And see, they didn't even establish the guidelines that, you know what, when I come into this deal, I'm still going to do this. You still should have your independent life. Then we should do some stuff collectively as a family unit. But you got to still have your happiness and your solace as an individual. And a lot of people get that up because they expect that's the norm, that you just sacrifice all those things. You don't have guys' night out. You don't have girls' night out. Then you have couples night out. Or if the couples don't get along, now you ain't got nobody to hang out. Guess what? Why I need another couple to hang out with when I picked you to be my life mate? Again, all frivolous stuff.
Right.
So you tie that in to the economics. I got to have money to sustain that lifestyle. Mm-hmm. If I'm accustomed to traveling 10, 12 times a year and I bring you into the fold and I don't want to stop that travel, I got to do that times 2. So that's 24. That's $24,000 extra I got to make a year. And if you got that bread, keep doing it. Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of times people got to scale back. Yep. And then that scaling back affects people. So that's why socioeconomically it's very rare where you see an institution works between somebody who's working class and, upper class. It's not because they don't have everything else in common. It's because the financial average of what that person had grown up in, they're not taking a step back and going from living in a $5,000 house that they grew up their whole life, went to private schools, didn't have no debt, traveled around the world, leisurely with no problem. And then you're a good guy.
Yep.
But you can't take me to Africa right now because you got $100,000 worth of student loan, even though you just got your MBA and starting your doctorate. But you can't do those things. And to them, they love you, but man, that's a step back. I don't know that life.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
But it's likely more success happens when they start out the same way. If they both were wealthy, came from good families, it's easy for them to stay together because they understand. And the same thing, if you start in an urban environment, if I started out poor and we grew together financially, it's more likely we can stay together. So it's more of a social economic situation nowadays than it's anything in that institution. And going back to Residual Lewis, yeah, man, he said, hey, why take on any other burden that I can't commit to? If I'm going to be out here grinding to make $1 million, I don't have time to be passionate towards you because I'm thinking about making money, so I ain't never got to be worried about it, so I can take care of you. But if you thought I forgot date night, I forgot about your homies coming in last minute, and I'm out here trying to knock down these 7 figures, ain't none of that important to me. And conversely, ain't none of that important to you when you out doing whatever you do, because the money ain't important to you till you don't have it.
Mm.
That's why I go back and say 98% of everything we do revolves around money.
Mm-hmm.
And Residual Lewis, he figured that out. Your parents, your grandparents know it. So they tell you, hey, Nick, no problem. What's the rush, son? Get your finances. Get debt free. Get some strong passive income. Because you can be 100% Nick. Know thyself. So you don't have to be a fraud to yourself. Forget about the other person. When you look in that mirror, it's one thing to lie to somebody, but it's worse when you lie to yourself. So if you know certain things that you have non-negotiable that you will not do, or things you want to accomplish that you don't want to be impaired by someone else, where you got to compromise, why should you do that? But if you rush and you don't have the cash and you don't have the foundation of somebody supporting you, it's a recipe for disaster.
Precisely. Yep. Yeah, and another point to make note of about Reginald Lewis and about my parents and grandparents is that there was an understanding, between the man and the woman that that the grind needs to happen. So I know we didn't get too many details about that in the book, but it's understood that Reginald's wife understood that he had to put this work in order to provide the type of life, the most desirable type of life for her and their daughters. So you have to have the right person in order for them to understand that, or otherwise they'll feel like you don't care, or you don't love them, or you out doing dirt or creeping and things like that. So,
but again, guess what? They're watching other people, and other people are talking in their ear. Because it still works that way. There's still plenty of people together that go through the grind. One person will take and pay for the student loans, let that person get their master's, go to engineering school, get their doctorate degree, and they make an agreement. Once we do that, then this is going to take care of A, B, C, E, F, and G. And what you have to stop doing is getting conversation advice from somebody who's not where you are. But that's so hard to do because you're living in an informational age, and most importantly, you don't know who you are. And that's the only way they can prey on you, Nick, because you don't know who you are. Now, we can't blame the people who grew up in broken families. There's broken families of people who are wealthy too, a lot of them. And there's broken families urban that just didn't get a chance. So all around them, there was no model of success, right? And that lack of model of success in the most informative years for you, just like Dr. Franz Welsing says, from 0, man, to 12 are the most pivotal years. And from 0 to 6, you have already developed your psychology, your mentality, and who you are as a person, lack thereof of other. So if you don't have that conducive environment to give it to you to be who you are, you're going to be constantly fighting demons. And then you get on and don't know how to turn the idiot box off, which now ain't the idiot box, it's this social platform that we on, because you feel the pressure. Oh, Jill got a i20 phone. Shaquem got a Samsung i20. I got how I want to be, but no, you don't. Sorry. Ain't falling for that BS. And you got to have the capacity to say, yeah, okay, guess what? You're not important for me to impress you. There's only 3 people I got to impress: God, family, and me. But again, if you didn't get that foundation and know thyself, you wouldn't know that. And then if you didn't understand that once you were unpopular and you put your grind in, woman or man, boy or girl, and now you hit your goals, all those losers are going to come back and call you popular and start putting you at the top of the food chain. Because you know what they're doing? They're living vicariously through you. Mm-hmm. So they want to put on the Gucci, the Fendi, the red bottom shoes to feel important, because you know what? They're empty inside. Now, that's not everybody.
Yeah.
Now, do you have people who are filled up and they can afford them things and wear them without a problem? But 90% of the people, they don't. Remember what Dr. George Fraser said? Wealthy people do something slick. They work hard at looking poor.
Yep.
And poor people work hard looking rich and ain't got a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of.
Yep. Yep. And you know, in the attention economy, that's that'll bring
new
you
currency.
Yeah, that'll bring you riches in the short term, but it's not sustainable in the long term.
It's full gold, baby. Full gold. Those people come and go. Been there, done that. Dirty shirt, man. And you know, like they got these programs out now where people are promoting and placing honor on promiscuous lifestyles, like it's a badge of honor. Man, give me a break. Even with guys, man, dude. You know, I had my share of fun, but I never wanted somebody's sloppy seconds. I don't care how fine the honey was. If I know she didn't ran through a couple of cats,
oh yeah,
I ain't feeling it, bro. And conversely, why would a girl want to get with a dude that sleep with everybody named mama? Low self-esteem.
Yep. Going back to that not, you know, knowing thyself. I had a professor over at Howard University, Dr. Andreas Woods. He said the most important knowledge is knowledge of self. You know, and that goes so deeply, and it's an ongoing, continuous journey. You never stop getting to know yourself, and there's so many levels to it. You know, it's not just knowing you know your history per se about, you know, concerning where you come from, but it's also, you know, knowing your likes and dislikes, your inner desires and needs. You know, what makes you happy, what ticks you off. You know, what type of life you want. Knowledge of self goes into all of those things.
Yeah. So what it is know your idiosyncrasies, your quirks, things that you can't change about yourself, and you got to get somebody that's okay with that they accept that for you without judgment. That's the hardest part.
Oh,
you know? So if you get down to the crux of it, we got to go back to the basics, man. You know, show people proper stewardship of themselves, aspire to be better than the next generation, have dignity, pride, self-esteem, and then find somebody that you can compliment and make better, not only financially, but mentally and stability-wise, where you can create a legacy for your name. And that's what Reginald F. Lewis did. And a lot of times, most people do that other than the ones you're watching on television. So all the stuff you'll see on TV and on social media, most likely that average John and Jane, or the average, you know, Jill and Joe, they're doing things right, but that's not sexy. And I'll equate it to this. It's just like with athletics. They put the athlete on the pedestal, but they don't put the academic kid who gets the 4.0 on the pedestal when they got a likelihood to be far more successful than that athlete. Statistically, it just doesn't add up. But we promote that because everybody want to be a warrior, everybody want to be popular. But imagine if we flipped the script like they did with the spelling bee and made it very popular and, you know, the hot thing to be smart and knowing how to spell impossible words. Imagine if they did that for the academic, you know, scholar, and they paraded them with all the schools they got accepted in. Guess what everybody in society will want to do? They want to bust their butt, get that grind, get that scholarship, but it ain't instantaneous. See, that's the problem. So they can't sell that because the number one demographic in advertising is 18 to 34. Because again, physically, you typically lose your physical attractiveness just from natural process of aging.
Mm-hmm.
I can't promote, DJ the money coach who looks like 35 because he's an aberration. So it ain't gonna be millions of them like that.
Right.
But there's always gonna be millions of Nick, 18 to 35. Unless you got hit with the ugly stick, you're gonna be good.
Yeah, right. All right, so let's talk about these pros and cons, because you did mention that men and women should sow their seeds and get the hoeing all about their system. Women by 28, men by early 30s to mid 30s. So I want to talk about the residual cost of all those things, because there's pros and cons to all of those phases. So, I'll start with myself about my transition from my early 20s to my late 20s, where I am now. So I'll start with now. So my late 20s, I haven't really done a lot of dating, and I'm using dating in the context that you're using it, DJ, how you defined it. So I'm not doing nearly as much dating as I did in my early 20s, and I noticed that in my early 20s I put a lot of attention and energy into that. Like, I may not have been with a whole lot of women, but I definitely did put a lot of time into looking for it and spending time, swiping on those dating apps, between the ages of maybe 23 to 26. I spent a lot of time doing that, and I noticed that I was putting a lot of time into grad school and in my teaching profession, but I wasn't fully immersed in my purpose. So I was working hard in those areas, but I was neglecting becoming free, essentially becoming financially free, in terms of building that wealth and pretty much working on ventures outside of my career or my job, in school. But once I put dating on the back burner and started focusing more on my purpose, I started to get more focused. I started to have more clarity, and I noticed that once I was really focused on my purpose, those feelings of loneliness that I had in my early 20s, I didn't have, because I've been spending so much time, grinding and on my purpose, that that I'm not thinking about being lonely and looking for dates
Man,
and
you just
female
said
validation.
something very important. I was going to say before you started talking about this,
Yeah,
there's a difference between being lonely and alone.
there you
And
go.
being alone, dude, is beautiful
It
when you
is.
know that self.
Mm-hmm.
But being lonely, dude, it don't matter how much money you got, how old you are empty. You know what I'm saying? And that's generally, again, it's the indoctrination that we've been taught. So you don't take time to find out what you were engineered for, to quiet all the noise, to fall in love with yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And once you found out what your purpose was and you fell in love with your calling, there was no more loneliness.
There you go.
It wasn't even anything you were concerned about, because you were fulfilled the way your God and your maker intended you to be. And then when you get that completed, guess what he's going to do? He's going to open up the door with a whole bunch of qualified, pure, like-minded women that's looking for the finished product that went through the master school called Nick Westbrook's.
Right.
But you have that advantage because you had counseling.
Yeah.
Talk to your mom, talk to your dad, talk to your grandparents. No problem, son. No problem, grandson. But if yours would have been saying, hey, you better get with it. Better go out here and get you a girl. Better do that. Guess what? You'd have been doing that, and you would have been floundering through life.
Right.
And that's very hard for anybody, to quiet oneself, get that alone time. John C. Maxwell says leaders spend a lot of time alone getting their purpose defined. Spend a lot of time. He actually has a chair just for thinking, where he thinks purposely for like 10, 15, 20 hours a week. Think about that. That is not popular when you're 21 to 30. What? He hitting the books? I mean, how many times you heard that when you were doing what you're supposed to do in school and everybody else was out kicking it? Man, dude, you're a bore. But those same people, they end up struggling later in life. So I have a saying that I teach my children: master the hard things in life. Yep. The older you get, the easier it becomes. Master the easy things in life, the harder your life becomes a living hell because you have accomplished nothing. You might make a little money, happen chance, but you haven't accomplished nothing worthy. So you're still empty in your vessel. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, I feel you.
So one of the things is to have a strong institution about self. And one thing we can do with children that don't dampen their curiosity, their precociousness, they're asking questions, feel that fire so they'll feel, emboldened with immense confidence, where pressure that's frivolous and superficial will never affect them, because they have learned who they are, what they like about themselves, what they like. And just because you look attractive and you got some resources, I don't fall for that either, because I know something that I don't care about you, I ain't got to roll with you. I let somebody else roll with you. And that doesn't matter if you grew up in a good neighborhood or a bad neighborhood. It just takes one person to believe in you and to foster and nourish that dream and instill that confidence in you, where you will be able to overcome those challenges, because we all have them at some point in stage. But the sooner you can learn about loving yourself and knowing what your purpose is, the better off you're going to be in everything in life. And that maturity is not going to attract people of the opposite sex, but it's going to attract great business partners.
There you go.
Great job opportunities, because they're going to see something in you that age-wise is not the norm, that says this person is wise, mature, and you're going to get opportunities that the average Joe don't get.
Right. Yep. And DJ the Money Coach has definitely noticed that in Nick Westbrook's. Isn't that right, DJ?
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely, man. I mean, you've been a godsend to the organization, and you've been a student of the business, which, if you were purposely driven to be out there chasing, all these honeys, which you rightfully could have done so because you're successful when we met, it wouldn't have been no discernible value. But the fact that you haven't and there's no rush, there's going to be a lot of stuff. Then them people going to be rolling up to you and be like, oh, you're an overnight success, Nick. You didn't see I was grinding for 10 years. Went to college, scholarship, went to grad school, took care of my business there, grind for a little bit. Boom, here I am. Full blown, boom. I'm 35 and I got everything to offer, and everybody's lined up to my door. And that's the same thing with a young lady.
Yep.
Them cats gonna line up to your door, because guys may tell you they want to bang it out and all that stuff, but you know what? They want somebody with low mouths, humility, that encourages them. They like the shiny objects like we all do, but they don't want to take those home to mom and dad unless, that's changed. And I don't think that changes. Yep. That grows tired, man. Person get together, they want to kick it and go party all the time. They got that itchy feeling because, again, they don't know how to settle down, be quiet with themselves, and do something, because they want to chase that nothingness. And again, there's nothing wrong with having fun. I've had fun more than most people, but I always knew what my purpose was.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
And see that right there, that emotes confidence, and confidence is attractive, baby.
Yep.
To everybody. If you got a confident woman that may not look as attractive you want, but that confidence and that purpose makes her more attractive. That confidence in that man who may be short, not tall, maybe this, that confidence, that's what you'll see people, a 6'1" girl with a 5'6" guy, or a 5'2" girl with a 7' guy, because that confidence, stability, knowing themselves surpasses all that superficial stuff. And then the economics is like, hey, we got a business plan to work together to become successful, and we're going to grind out, become consumer debt free. We're going to pay our student loans off. We're going to buy the house that we can afford, not the one we want, and not worrying about keeping up with people, because we know eventually, long term, we do it right, we're going to supersede them other people who are doing short sales and losing their houses because they're trying to buy the future before they earned it. But that's the world we live in, and that ain't sexy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's not sexy in the attention economy.
Right. But that woman always want that brother to got that A credit.
Yep.
And that cash in the bank. And that brother always want that sister to get that cash in the bank and that A credit. It don't matter what age you are, you got those, you attractive, bro.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there you go. That's what it pretty much comes down to. So tying it back to the economic part, I mentioned the focused aspect of not chasing the chicks or not chasing the honeys, but I also noticed that dealing with the economics, it's more expensive to live that life too, because
goodness.
Yeah, because
Let's talk about that.
You're going on, if you're chasing women, you're going out like every weekend. You're either going on dates or you're going to the bar or going to the club, and you dropping money almost every weekend. But when you're tapped into your purpose, you're saving that money and you're putting that money towards investing, in yourself and your future. And before you jump in, DJ, once you find that, once you develop yourself and you find that like-minded woman, and she thinks the way you do, you're saving your money, you're investing together that way. So yeah, it becomes expensive when you're not on your purpose.
Man, let me tell you something. Even if you're not chasing girls, and you're just out kicking and having a good time with the fellas.
Oh yeah, that too.
It's expensive, man. I mean, from 21 to like 27, man. I mean, just kicking it out with the fellas.
Right.
And then you always had that partner that didn't have the money.
Of course.
And because that's your partner, you always picking up the tab for them. So then when you look at it, you come out, let's say your first job, you're making $35,000, $45,000, $50,000. But then you're like, dang, where's my money at? And then you go back and look at the expenses, and every week you're dropping a C note, which nowadays you're dropping 3-4 notes.
Right.
So it's 4.3 weeks in a month. So if you're dropping 3 notes every week, dude, you're dropping $1,500.
Right.
For an experience. 18 grand a year.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So if you did that for 5 years, bruh, I think that's $90,000.
Yeah, you're probably right.
$90,000 in little spins here and there and everywhere. Guess what you end up doing? Put on the credit card, baby. Put on the credit card, baby. Yep. Put on the credit card. Thus, the introduction of plastic money, which doesn't show you the pain of the immediate purchase. And that's one of the reasons why, Nick, I make my children in the digital age still put money in envelopes. Two of my children just got their first bank card 2 weeks ago. For their savings. Now, they've had investment accounts for the last 6-7 years, but that's an investment account.
Right.
But they just got a bank card because they now understand the magnitude of real money, because they've been taking their money, put in an envelope, we pull it together, they get their investments. Then we say, spend what you have left, and they be tight with that money. But when you give a kid or an adult who's just a grown male a plastic card that says American Express, Visa, MasterCard. That's how I got $40,000 in consumable debt, dude. Because I didn't understand that was real. I knew it was real, but it didn't, it didn't register with me. But when you pull that physical dollar out your pocket, and you might start out the day with $200-300, and then you down to like $2-3, all of a sudden it's like, oh no, dude, we got to stop. But when you pulling out that plastic, oh man, hey man, just slide it. I'll pay the bill 30 days, 45 days later. You see what I'm saying? So that kicking it.
Yeah. See, I don't know if I want to. Well, I don't know if that guy wants to have me in his crew, because I'll be the type of friend that say, if I notice a pattern you don't got it, I'm gonna be like, man, you should probably stay your ass at home, and I'll help, we'll help you make some money.
Right. But that generally happens, man, when you grow up with somebody, you knew them for a while, and they were there when it had nothing to do with money. They stood in the gap for you. So they kind of play that card, make you go home, and they, man, remember, man, when we was 5 of us and 10 guys jumped on us and I had you back in the alley. Well, remember, man, when I did your homework for you and you didn't study that night? You know what I'm saying? It's usually that situation somehow, and they play that card, and you just be like, oh man, at some point in time, I got to cut this cat off. I got to cut this girl off. But it usually happens after you way behind, because you were so concerned, tying it back to being lonely because you didn't know yourself, and you could have been like, hey, bro, I appreciate when you help me out, and I hit you up 1 or 2 times, but every week, sorry, bro, kick rocks.
Yep. Hey, this is me. You know what? You're right. And to show my appreciation for all that you've done for me and all that you helped me with, I'm going to show you how to invest and make some money, so you ain't got to be in this situation no more. That's what I'm going to do for you, my mans. but listen, going back to the ladies though, think about this when you spend the money every week. If you're dating, you're going to be dropping money on that too. If you're dating, or if you're looking for women of quality, because women of quality, you're going to expect you to drop some money and take them out.
Well, you know what? I'm a rebut that, to be honest.
All right. Go ahead and rebut. Then I'll give you. I'll explain.
No, go ahead. You finish, and then I'll rebut that. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So what I'm saying, when I say spend a little money, I don't mean like spending a lot of money, but I mean in terms of actually going out. So yeah, there's plenty of free things that you can do depending on where you're at, where you're located, and where you live. But depending on where you're at, that can be limited. So you might be spending a little bit of money. You may not have to spend a lot of money, but you may be spending a little bit of money if you're looking for a woman of somewhat of quality. You might find a low quality woman that'll just come over to your crib on the first date. But the first 1 or 2 dates, more than likely you will be going out somewhere and spending a little bit of money.
Yeah. So here's my point. So if that person comes to the table, and they're high quality, they have a great education, they got a great family, and you tell them your plan. See, women are attracted to men who have plans. Yeah. Is that, I don't mind taking you out, but hey, let me just keep it real with you. Here's what I'm trying to do. I'm really trying to get to know you.
Right.
So forget about the free stuff. So that's when that person, even the girl, has confidence in herself. If she just want to spend time together, I honestly don't have a problem with, them paying their way, me paying my way. And people might say, oh man, what's up with that? Hey, guess what? Something I found out, dude, the more transparent you are with people, telling them what you want up front, and if they don't agree with it, guess what? Keep it moving. Now, I don't have a problem taking you out and taking and paying for stuff, but if this is becoming a natural thing that we got to do, and that offsets what I'm trying to accomplish, hey, it's nice knowing you. But see, it takes a real person to be straightforward with somebody like that, to say, yeah, I just want to go out here, kick and be seen with you, or I really want to get to know you. So now we can start planning things and taking advantage of access to events that don't cost a lot, but we can still have a great time. Even in today's world, you can do that. But most people are caught in, man, I gotta roll up in the expensive car. I gotta roll up in the, dope latest gear. And I can be shallow inside, but it don't matter because I'm just trying to impress you for that one night.
Yeah.
But if you meet somebody quality and ask them what their real goals are in life, what they really like, it ain't really about you taking them out. It's about them getting to know you and finding a life mate that they can actually grow with. And then as you start getting better with your resources and stuff like that, and you start spending your money, it becomes no problem. And now it's no big deal, man. I mean, I've taken out many a young, nicely women, but at the same time, it's been many, dude. I didn't have to pay not one penny because I was just straightforward. Guess what?
Yeah.
I'm not in the buying you business. I'm not your sponsor. So if that's what we're looking for, see you later. hit the bricks, hit the rocks. And maybe I might have been fortunate, but dude, I think a person with a strong constitution, know what they want, have a plan, is going to be attracted to somebody, and they're going to want to just spend time with you and make it valuable time versus spending stuff for the sake of, oh, we went here and spent that, and you didn't get anything out of any value. So I would push back on that, man, because I've experienced that for 5 decades, and my plan has worked because that was the only way I was going to do it.
Yeah,
but again, because I knew who I was.
Yeah, but this is still in the context of what we were talking about originally. With going out every week with with different pretty much chasing women. I'm saying.
Oh man, let me tell you this too. Let me tell you this. This is one thing I never did. I never bought women drinks. Never. It was maybe once in a blue moon. Because again, I looked at that from my mindset is I'm buying you. I'm paying for your services, which is no difference than me paying for a call girl, going to a strip club, or a prostitute.
Hey, you did say dating is prostitution, right?
Yes,
yep.
Yes, it is. And check this out. It amazes me that in the BK1 it says what was good will be bad, what is bad will be good. And what I'm about to say about this, going to the strip club, which everybody makes the norm. Dude, I've been to one strip club in my life. And that was by somebody trying to fool me in a group of dudes we were hanging out with that had a bachelor party, and we had one at the hotel, and then a late night hotel thing went up, and next thing I know, we all hop in the limo and look up, and we at a strip club. I'm like, dude, I'm not going in there. There's no value of it to me. Again, that's sloppy seconds. You up there on the pole shaking your butt to get a college degree or get your master's degree or your doctorate. Dude, I'm sorry. It's better ways. Because if you only about the money, I'm sorry. Can't get with you. But that's now the norm. Yo, it's cool. I'm going there and have a great meal. I was watching some show. This dude, oh man, the best food I've ever had was in the strip. Man, dude, I'm just thinking about all the germs, the diseases, the STDs, the filthiness. I can't concentrate on. I don't care if it's a world-class meal. If what's Puck, Wolfgang Puck was in there mixing it up, or Gordon. I'm not eating in no damn strip club, dude. So that just shows you our society is the race to the bottom.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I ain't dating myself. I just got higher standards for myself. And it's kind of like what the Chris Rock joke is. The Chris Rock litmus test. If your daughter end up in a strip club, you fucked up. Pardon my French.
Hey, tell her how it is. keep it 100 with them.
Right. So guess what? You meet somebody in that environment. What is the successful rate for a long-term, fruitful, prosperous relationship? It's already jacked up, dude.
Hey, but I mean, but if they're not looking for that in the first place, then
But again, so if I look at that and what's amazing to me, it's cats that got everything going on and they still going there throwing their money up. I just don't see the value of me throwing my money up to no broad with her clothes off because it ain't nothing special. You know what I'm saying? It ain't nothing special. You just looking at my money. You ain't interested in me. You interested in them Benjamins. So I can't relate to you. Because tomorrow night you be in there getting somebody else's Benjamins.
Right.
So let me get to know. And that's just like the athlete, the entertainer, somebody got a lot of money. They don't want people to know they got a lot of money because they want to get to know them from themselves. So if I just been throwing money at you, so never got down with that craziness.
Hey, and you know, we were talking offline, you know, before we went online about you know what it takes to be a winner, and you know, the difference between the alphas and the betas. And you know, the alphas have that mindset. You know, they don't see the value in putting and throwing money towards you know things like that. The betas do though, but you know, but the real alphas they don't see it. They don't see the value.
I mean, there's so much better ways to go about it, and I know that's kind of off topic, but at the end of the day, man, yeah, winners, leaders, and shepherds, bro.
Yeah,
that's really what it's about. And even in today's world, that don't change, man. Principles don't change; they're immutable. You know, trends, fads, and stuff change, but principles don't. And it's a funny thing when people get in trouble. You know what they always want to go back to? The basics, the fundamentals, the non-sexy stuff. Because you know, at the end of the day, everybody wants peace, stability, tranquility, and freedom.
That's a fact.
You know, and these things you can't get physically and externally. They have to be internally developed at the end of the day. And that's what Reginald F. Lewis developed from his mom, his father, his grandparents. That's what you, Nick, have developed through your parents and your grandparents. I've had that benefit as well. So at the end of the day, man, we got to know how to quiet the noise. We got to know how to take care of the money thing first. So here's the problem with school, and I'm going to end on this note.
Yeah.
We purposely don't teach kids about money so that they can be slaves to the institutions in a protected society, because the elite people are not smarter. They're not more talented. They just got access to something that you didn't know about, and they put you in a position that you can never find out about it. Because if you did and everything was equal and just, you would surpass them with smart work, mentorship, accountability, and discipline. But they're constantly distracting you with all this other crap so that you don't figure out that it's really that easy to do 1 + 1 or 3 × 3 or n to the 3 squared. You know, 3 × 3 is 9. 9 × 3 is 27.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And if you figure that out, there will be no corporations, because all corporations outside of industrial base are just exchanging information to consumers and sheep. Facts.
Absolutely. That's a fact. That's a fact. Yeah. So, you know, it may, you know, so to tie everything together, you know, so it may sound cliche, but this is truth. This is facts. You know, it all comes down to self-love, self-knowledge, knowing your purpose, and being on that purpose. You know, you develop yourself as an individual. You then you attract like-minded other individuals, whether it's, you know, romantic, business, friendship. You know, that's how that works. You know,
man,
so
dude,
just
no doubt about it. And stop following all this damn pop culture all the time.
Oh yeah,
Start spending more time learning about yourself, man. Every time we look up, everybody's talking about this pop culture. I mean, dude, it is hilarious, and it is also blasphemy for Kanye West to be running for freaking president. Insane. And you know what? And people say it's no different with Trump as well. Blasphemy and everything, because those people were caricatures. We just happen to make some money, and because we live in the pop instantaneous society now, those people have replaced personality for principles. I'm gonna say that again. Replace principles for personality. So all you see now is somebody who is charismatic, that is devoid of principles and integrity. But because you don't have any self-value yourself, you follow the popularity contests. All this is high school. That's a shame.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah. So you drop Dr. Francis Cress Wilson. So I think in October we need to talk about the ISIS papers, and then in November, around election time, you know, you just mentioned the caricatures that we call politicians or or candidates, we need to talk about governing ourselves and how to be presidential to each other. So that's what we're going to talk about in November.
Hey man, it's your show, brother. Whatever topic you pick, I'm here to be ride or die.
That's what we're going to talk about. So again, like I said, you know, the overarching takeaway is to know yourself, love yourself, know your purpose, and be on your purpose, and understand that you know, there are pros and cons to all of these statuses. You know, whether you're single, dating, courting, or married. You know, just understand that there are pros and cons, and you have to decide for yourself what's most important to you and what are you willing to sacrifice, because you will be sacrificing something at the end of the day. You know, so as a reminder, as we're wrapping up, let me grab the book that we're going to be talking about in September. Where is it? Oh yeah, here it is. The Conspiracy of Credit by Corey P. Smith. We're going to be talking
Go out and get that book.
Yeah, get this book so you can join, so you can read it, you know, learn some valuable information about credit and join in on our conversation the first Friday in September. We just had Corey P. Smith on the platform yesterday, you know, gave a powerful interview. So make sure you go check that out on the 7 Spheres of Money YouTube channel.
And we're gonna redo it as well, because we did have some technology challenges that we couldn't prevent. So we're gonna redo it. Corey has agreed to do that. So thank you, Corey. So go out, get the book. If you haven't gotten, you know, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun, and you want to know about money, which 98% of the people on this platform are chasing the dollar, and 98% of everything that we do is affected by dollars, you should go get Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun by Reginald F. Lewis, and see how it's really done the right way at the end of the day. No question about it, my friend.
Yeah, go get that. Yeah, you need to go get that. You know, and of course, all of our sites and all of our platforms. So I mentioned the YouTube channel. So you're watching this on YouTube. If you're not subscribed to this channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you can get the notifications. You know, for, if you have a YouTube account, you know, connected to your email, or you have the app on your phone, you know, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell. Make sure you follow us on social media. Facebook, we're 7 Spheres of Money. Instagram, 7 Spheres of Money. Our website is DJTheMoneyCoach.com. There's a pop-up form on that website, so you can put your email in and get the email updates when we have shows coming up, you know, live shows, recorded shows, webinars. You know, so
make sure you do the webinars. Hey man, hey, they gotta come to the webinar, Family Finance 101. This is going to teach you 136 principles of financial success. First, starting with getting yourself consumer debt free. Second, with getting your credit scores up to 800. Third is helping you create financial independence. And the fourth is putting you on the Pay Yourself First program by keeping automatic payments from the 1st to the 13th of the month. And it comes with a complimentary consultation. We're doing this live August 18th, 6:30 Central, 7:30 Eastern time on this platform. You don't want to miss it. If you want to be consumer debt free, financially independent, we're going to show you the template and give you the blueprint of 20,000 people that have gone through this program, and hundreds have become financially independent with our help in the 7 Spheres of Money. Because at the end of the day, if you're tight on money and you're tight on credit, your life stress is immensely, and it will age you and kill you faster than you even know it. You know, so yeah, definitely plug in, hit them links, and come to the webinar. Be worth it. 100% satisfaction guaranteed.
Yep. And that link is in the description of this video. You know, just go down description. It's right there. Just click on it, and you know, you'll get connected. Yep. So since this is my show, I'll end it all. We wish you a pom lifestyle that's plenty of money and peace of mind, and we want you to join us on the Beaches of the World Club. And until next time, we'll see you on the next broadcast. Peace.